Before I tell you this, I need you to do something for me. Pause for a second and drop a comment with where you're watching from. Your city, your state, or even your little nowhere town. I really want to see how far these mountains reach through this screen. And if you like real feeling dark horror, late night confessions, and stories that stick with you after the video ends, please subscribe and turn on the bell. It helps more than you think, and it lets me keep bringing you stuff like this. Okay, deep breath. Let me tell you why I don't drive alone in the mountains anymore. I grew up in a small town in eastern Kentucky, the part of Appalachia people forget exists unless they need a sad background for a documentary. Our town had one main road, a handful of side streets, and then a maze of gravel strips that climbed into the hills. Streetlights got rare after the gas station, and after a certain point, you're just depending on your headlights and your gut. My dad used to say, "These roads know who belongs on them." I didn't really understand what he meant until the night my cousin died. Her name was Lindsay. She was a year older than me, the kind of girl who could make friends with anybody. Blonde hair that always smelled like coconut shampoo, chipped black nail polish, and this loud laugh that made people in other rooms laugh too, even if they didn't know the joke. We grew up side by side. Same church, same school, same bus stop. When we were little, we used to race leaves in the creek behind our grandma's house and swear we'd leave this town together someday. Only one of us did. It was early November when everything happened. The air had that wet cold that goes straight into your bones. Trees were mostly bare. Dead leaves skittered across the roads like something trying not to get caught. I was working nights at a little diner off the main road. Nothing special. Coffee, pie, fried everything. It was one of those open late places where time gets weird after midnight, and you start to feel like the outside world doesn't exist. Lindsay would sometimes swing by at the end of my shift just to hang out and grab fries. That night, she was supposed to meet me at 11:30. I remember standing at the soda fountain refilling a Coke when she texted, "Linz, leaving now." Me. K drive, careful. Linz? LOL Grandma. Last read message from her. I still have it. My shift ended. I wiped down the counter, counted the register, did all the little closing rituals on autopilot. Every time the door opened, I half expected it to be her. It never was. At 11:45, my boss tossed me the keys. "Lock up behind you, kiddo. I'm beat." I stepped outside, alone under the buzzing neon sign. The parking lot was mostly empty. Just my car, a rusted truck, and the dark highway stretched out in front of me like a long black tongue. I checked my phone. No new messages. Probably just running late, I told myself. I texted again. Me. "You close?" No answer. I should have gone straight home. I should have just assumed she flaked and dealt with it in the morning. Instead, I sat in my car for a minute, engine idling, staring at the hill road that cut up behind the diner. Old Mill Road. Lindsay's house was up there. Not all the way at the top, but close. Old Mill was dangerous on a good day. No guardrails on some turns, gravel patches, and deer everywhere. I stared at that road and got the weirdest feeling. Not fear, just pressure. Like the night was pushing on my shoulders. You know that feeling when you know something's wrong, even if you can't say why? I put the car in drive and turned up Old Mill. There's a point where the road curves around the side of the hill, and the town just disappears. No more neon signs, no more porch lights, just trees on one side, drop-off on the other, and your headlights carving out a little tunnel in front of you. That's where it started. First came the smell. It drifted in through the vents so suddenly, I thought maybe my engine had caught fire. It wasn't smoke, though. It smelled like wet fur, iron, and something sweet rotting under it. Like a freezer full of meat somebody unplugged a week ago. I gagged and rolled the window down an inch, which helped. Cold night air burned my lungs. Probably a dead deer, I muttered. We'd see roadkill on that stretch all the time. That's when I saw the flicker of light. Not ahead of me. In the trees. Off to my right, a little higher up the hill, something glowed weakly between the trunks. It flickered once, twice, like a dying flashlight beam. Then I saw it move, swinging side to side. Headlights. Somebody's car was off the road up there. I pulled over as far as I could and killed my engine, leaving the hazard lights blinking behind me. My heart thudded, hard and steady. Small town or not, car off the road in the middle of the night is bad news. I grabbed my phone and my little mag light from the glove box and stepped out into the cold. "Hello?" I called, voice too loud in the stillness. "You okay up there?" No answer. The smell hit harder now that I was outside. It wrapped around me, thick and rotten, clinging to the back of my throat. I climbed up the embankment, hands grabbing at roots and icy dirt. My shoes slipped once, sending a shower of rocks down onto the pavement. When I reached the top, my brain needed a second to make sense of what I was seeing. A car, Lindsay's car, was sitting at an angle between two trees, nose crumpled against a trunk. One headlight was smashed, the other flickered weakly, pointing off into the empty dark, like a dying, confused eye. "Lindsay!" I shouted, voice cracking. "Linz!" No response. I ran to the driver's side. The door was hanging open, interior light on. Glass glittered on the seat. The car was empty. Her phone was still in the cup holder. Her purse lay on the floorboard, its contents spilled. Makeup, gum, CVS receipts, keys gone, seatbelt unbuckled, like she'd just gotten out and walked away. My stomach dropped. I picked up her phone with trembling fingers. The screen lit up. No signal. Of course, we were in that sweet dead zone where every bar just disappears, like the mountains swallowing it. "Lindsay!" I tried again, louder. "This isn't funny." Somewhere deeper in the trees, something cracked. Not a small twig, a branch, heavy. I froze. "Linz?" I called again, but softer this time. "Is that you?" Nothing. The air pressed in on me. Even the usual night sounds, insects, leaves, distant dogs, were gone. It was like the whole hill was holding its breath. I couldn't explain it then, but I know it now. The silence felt wrong. Not empty. Waiting. I should have gone back to the car. I should have driven straight to her parents' place or to the sheriff's house. He literally lives 2 streets over from us. Instead, I did the stupid thing. I walked toward the sound. Just a few steps, I told myself. Make sure she's not lying in a ditch or something. The beam of my flashlight cut through the dark, catching trunks, bare branches, patches of wet leaves. My breath puffed out in little clouds. The smell drifted again, stronger, like it was looking for me. I covered my mouth with my sleeve, eyes watering. "Lindsay, if you're messing with me, I swear to God." The light swept left, right, and landed on something lying between 2 roots. My heart stuttered. For a half-second, I thought it was her. It was a deer, or at least, it had been. Its body lay twisted like it had been dropped from a height. One front leg was bent at a sick angle. The fur along its side had been torn open in long, almost surgical strips. No guts spilled out, but the wound was wrong. Too neat in some places, too torn in others. The eyes were the worst part. They were wide, cloudy, staring right at me. mouth partly open like it had died mid-breath. I made a choked sound and took a step back, my heel catching on a rock. That's when something in the dark moved. Not beside me. Above me. My flashlight jerked upward on instinct. Between the trees, just beyond the edge of the light, something tall stood very, very still. My brain grabbed for familiar shapes. Tree trunk? No. A person? Too thin? Another deer? It stepped forward, just enough to catch the beam. My throat closed. It looked like a deer in the way a scarecrow looks like a person. All the right pieces were technically there, but nothing moved the way it should. Its legs were long, too long, with joints that bent just a little off, like whoever built it had seen deer once in a picture and guessed the rest. Its body was narrow, too narrow. I could see ribs shifting under the skin as it breathed. Its head was wrong. At first glance, yeah, deer-shaped. Long nose, antlers branching out like dead fingers. But the face was too flat in some places, too stretched in others, like skin pulled over the wrong skull. And the eyes. They weren't animal eyes. They were deep and dark and focused, watching me the way a person watches another person. Not hungry exactly, more curious, interested, like I was something new. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. My body just locked, every instinct firing at once. Run, freeze, hide, look away. I did none of them. The thing tilted its head slightly, almost like it was studying me. In that little, horrible moment, I realized the smell, that rotting metal stink, was coming from it. Not the dead deer, not the wrecked car. From it. And then, like a switch flipping, something in my head opened. I don't know how else to say it. I didn't hear a voice out loud. The trees didn't shake. My ears didn't ring. But inside my skull, just behind my eyes, something spoke. You came. The words weren't quite right. They were blurry around the edges, like they'd been translated badly. But the meaning hit me all the same. I dropped Lindsay's phone. It hit a rock hard enough to crack the screen. My heart was slamming so hard my vision started to fuzz at the edges. I couldn't tell if I was about to pass out or throw up. The thing took one slow step closer. The way its legs bent made my stomach twist. Bones shouldn't move like that. It lowered its head, sniffing the air like it was testing my scent. My legs finally got the message. Move. I stumbled backward, almost tripping over the dead deer. My flashlight swung wildly, the beam glancing off antlers, tree bark, its too long neck. Warm, the not voice whispered in my head. You're warm. I didn't answer. Couldn't. Every part of me screamed that if I responded, even in my thoughts, it would know me, know more of me. I turned and ran. I don't remember exactly how I made it back down that slope. I must have slid half the way, grabbing at roots, falling, scrambling. Rocks tore my hands, mud streaked my jeans. Branches clawed my arms and face. Behind me, something moved through the trees. Not fast, not chasing, just following. Like it had all the time in the world, like it knew I couldn't get away. My car appeared below like a miracle. Hazards still blinking, orange light pulsing against the blacktop. I flew down the last few feet, yanked the door open, threw myself inside, and slammed the lock button 3 times like that would help. For a second, all I could do was sit there, shaking, listening to my own ragged breathing. Then I made the mistake of looking up. It was standing at the tree line, right where I'd climbed up. Perfectly still, perfectly framed in my windshield. Its eyes caught the glow from my hazards and reflected back something flat and dead. The not voice brushed the inside of my skull again, softer this time. almost amused. Now you see. My hands found the keys and twisted on autopilot. Engine roared to life. I slammed the car into drive and tore off down the road without checking the mirror. I don't know if it followed. I don't want to know. The sheriff found Lindsay's body 3 days later. She was farther up the hill than where I'd gone, down in a dip between two old oaks, half hidden by leaves. They said she must have been thrown from the car, wandered off in a concussion, and died of exposure. That's what went on the report, anyway. Closed. Explained. Her mom wouldn't let me see the body. I didn't fight her on it. I saw enough in her face at the funeral to know I didn't want to. She blamed the road, blamed the deer, blamed herself for letting Lindsay drive so late. She never blamed me. Nobody did, because I never told them what I saw, what followed me, what looked at me like it was trying on my fear to see how it fit. People out here joke about mountain things. We tell new folks not to whistle in the woods at night, not to follow lights off the road, not to stop when something's standing just a little too still. We say it with a smile, like it's all just culture and superstition. I can't laugh at it anymore, because here's the part I haven't said yet. That night, after I got home, I sat on the edge of my bed until the sky started turning gray. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that face, that almost deer, those wrong eyes. I finally passed out, and at some point before the sun came up, I woke up, not in my bed, standing at my bedroom window, hand on the glass, staring out at the street. I don't sleepwalk, never have. But there I was, bare feet on cold floor, breath fogging the window, my heart pounding like I'd been running for miles. The worst part? I wasn't scared in that first second. I felt calm, like I'd just finished a long, quiet conversation with someone, and we'd come to an understanding. Then the calm dropped away, and the panic rushed in, and I stumbled back so fast I hit my nightstand. Through the faint reflection in the glass, outside in the dark, at the edge of where the streetlight didn't quite reach, I thought I saw something tall and thin standing just beyond the mailbox, watching the house. I blinked, and it was gone. Maybe it was a trick of the light. Maybe it wasn't there at all. But some nights, when the wind dies and the world goes quiet, I swear I can feel that same old pressure on the back of my eyes, that same sense of being observed. Like something out there is waiting for me to drive another lonely road at midnight. Like it knows I got away once. And it's patient. If you ever find yourself driving in the Appalachian Mountains and you see a wrecked car on the side of a dark road, no lights, no people, just open door and silence, call it in, say a prayer. But don't climb up there alone. And if you see a deer standing by the trees, too still, too tall, watching you like it knows your name, keep driving. Don't slow down. Don't roll your window down. Don't look in its eyes, because maybe it's not hungry. Not yet. Maybe it's just trying to decide if you're worth following home. If this story hit you in the chest even a little, if it felt too real, let me know in the comments where you're watching from, and if your town has its own legends or creatures. I read those, and some of your stories will end up in future videos. Please like the video if you felt that knot in your stomach, subscribe if you haven't already, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story from these mountains. This was just the first confession. We still have 2 more Appalachian nightmares to get through. Story 2. The Whisper Window at Little Creek Mine. Hit subscribe and turn on the bell. It means a lot. All right, settle in. This one still messes with me. I grew up outside Bluefield, West Virginia. In a little patch of houses hugging a dead strip of mining land, folks around here call it Little Creek. Most maps don't even bother labeling it anymore. Nothing left but a gas station, a church with half its letters missing, and the old mine shaft that nobody's allowed near. Little Creek, mine number 7. The sign on the fence says, "Keep out unstable ground, no trespassing." But everybody knows that's not the real reason. People avoid that place because of what they hear, and what some swear they've seen. The old men outside the church call it the whisper window. Kids call it the dark mouth. My dad wouldn't call it anything at all. And I didn't understand any of it until the summer my brother disappeared. His name was Caleb. He was 16, the kind of kid who always had dirt on his jeans and a pocket knife in his shoe. He could climb anything, fix anything, and piss anybody off in under 5 minutes. But he was a good brother. Funny. Loud. Alive in a way most folks around here weren't. We used to throw rocks at the rusted "Welcome to Little Creek" sign and talk about leaving someday. Me for college, him for the army. Big plans, big talk. Then June came, and something in those hills woke up. It started with sounds. At first it was little things, tapping at night, soft enough that you could blame it on branches hitting siding or animals on the roof. Then came the whispers. Not inside. Outside. Like conversations drifting through the trees. You'd step onto the porch, and the sound would cut off instantly, like something holding its breath. Neighbors started mentioning it too. Folks who'd lived here all their lives suddenly closing their blinds earlier, locking their doors, walking faster past the mine road. Nobody said it outright, but the fear was thick. You could almost smell it. I asked Dad one night, "What's going on?" He didn't look at me, just kept seasoning his dinner like I hadn't spoken. After a long moment, he muttered, "Don't linger by the mine." "Why?" He set the salt shaker down too hard and stood up. "That place remembers voices," he said quietly, "and it calls back the ones it wants." I didn't understand then. I wish I never had to. It happened in late June. Hot night. Air so thick it felt like you were breathing bath water. I was in my room with a fan blowing in my face when I heard Caleb's voice outside. Low at first, then clearer. Laughing. I froze. We shared a room for most of our lives. I knew his laugh better than my own heartbeat. But he hadn't been home all day. He was supposed to be at his friend Mason's place. I stepped to my window, lifted the blinds a little. The yard was empty. But the laugh drifted again, this time from the old path that led toward the mine. "Caleb?" I whispered through the glass. No answer. Just another soft chuckle, deeper in the trees, like he was teasing me. I grabbed my shoes and slipped outside quietly so Dad wouldn't wake up. The night smelled like damp rocks and honeysuckle. Crickets hummed. Fog hung low over the ground. I followed the path. My heart wasn't scared yet, just confused. Maybe he'd come home early. Maybe he was messing with me. Until I hit the turn, where the path forks, left toward the neighbors, right toward the mine. Every hair on my arms lifted, because the laugh came again. But this time, it wasn't right. It was close, too close, and it wasn't shaped like his laugh. It was like someone had copied it, but didn't know where the breath pauses went. The sound was stretched, slurred, pulled thin. My chest tightened. "Caleb," I called, louder now. "Quit screwing around." No answer. Just the rustle of something moving deeper toward the mine. A slow drag. Soft. Wet. My stomach dropped. Little Creek Mine sits in a hollow where sound gets weird. Voices echo wrong. Footsteps double. The place always feels colder than the rest of the hill. When I reached the fence, the gate was cracked open an inch. No wind. No footprints. No reason for it to be open. The moon hung low behind clouds, barely lighting the gravel. I stood there, pulse hammering in my throat, staring at the dark mouth of the mine shaft. The entrance is wide, reinforced with old wooden beams, most of them black with age. Inside, past 20 feet, is nothing but pitch. Everyone in town knows the stories. Kids hear their names whispered from inside. Adults see shadows that mimic their movements. Voices echo back things you didn't say. But this wasn't a story. This was my brother, or something wearing him. My breath shook as I stepped closer. The air coming from the shaft was cold. Too cold. Like winter was living in there. And then I heard him. Hey. Just that. A simple, hey. But the tone. It wasn't inviting. It wasn't relieved. It was sharp. Hungry under the softness. Like bait. My stomach twisted. Caleb, I whispered. Silence. Then, come see. Except it wasn't his voice anymore. It was deeper. Like someone was trying on his tone, but didn't know how a 16-year-old actually sounded. I stepped back so fast I tripped over a rock. The mine went quiet again. A dead, waiting stillness. Then something moved inside. Not footsteps. A slide. Like something pulling itself forward across stone. Slow. Dragging. My lungs locked. The whisper echoed again, but closer now. Barely above a breath. Come see me. My whole body froze like ice was climbing my spine. That's when a hand grabbed my shoulder from behind. I screamed. But it was only Mr. Graham, the old neighbor who lived 3 houses down. He must have followed when he saw me leave. He didn't yell, didn't panic. He just whispered, voice shaking. Don't answer it. My heart hammered. What are you talking about? He tightened his grip. That's not your brother. His face looked more terrified than I'd ever seen an adult look. He's gone. That thing's just using him. We have to go. Something scraped inside the mine. Long, rough, like nails on stone. Come back. The voice was layered now. Not one voice, multiple, all trying to sound like him. I stumbled away, and Mr. Graham half pulled, half dragged me back to the path. I didn't look back. I couldn't. Not when the whispers turned into something like laughter. Not when the cold wind rushed past us like something crawling out. Not even when the mine's darkness seemed to stretch toward us, hungry and reaching. We didn't stop until we were back in the yard, under Dad's porch light. Mr. Graham collapsed against the steps, gasping. I stood there, trembling, staring at the trees. The whispers had stopped, but I felt eyes in the dark, watching, waiting. They never found Caleb. Sheriff said he probably ran off. Search parties spent weeks combing the hills. Dogs went near the mine, then backed away, whining. One wouldn't stop shaking. Dad never said a word about it. Not once. He just sat on the porch every night until morning, shotgun across his lap, staring at the path. Once, months later, when I asked him what he thought happened, he didn't blink. The mine called him, he said. It calls who it remembers. I wanted to tell him the truth, that something pretended to be my brother, that something whispered to me from the dark, that something came to the edge of the entrance just to see if I'd answer. But looking into my dad's empty eyes, I knew he already believed it. Maybe he always had. It's been years. I don't live in Little Creek anymore. I don't go near mines. I can't even stand being in basements. But sometimes, late at night, when my house is quiet and the world outside goes still, I swear I hear it again. A soft laugh. Almost right. Almost him. Almost And then the whisper follows. Not loud, just a brush against the back of my mind. Hey, you heard me once. You'll hear me again. And I lie there in the dark, frozen, heart racing, wondering if I brought something out with me, wondering if the mind still remembers my voice, wondering how long it'll wait before it calls my name. If this one crawled under your skin even a little, tell me in the comments where you're watching from, and let me know if your area has old mines, caves, or places people avoid. Your stories might end up in the next video. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss Story 3. I promise, that one goes deeper into the mountains than both of these. And it's a different kind of nightmare. This one is different, more personal. Hits the heart and the nerves at the same time. Let's go. Story 3. The Singing Woman of Devil's Backbone Ridge. All right, here's the story I almost never tell. I'm from western North Carolina, a little place called Cobbler's Creek, a town so small that if you blink while driving through, you'll miss all three of our important buildings: the school, the church, and the diner everyone pretends has good food. The rest is mountains, ridges stacked on ridges, old forests that swallow sound, fog that moves like it has somewhere to be. And then there's the ridge everyone avoids, Devil's Backbone, the kind of place locals talk about quietly, like the woods themselves might be listening. Old folks warn you straight up. Don't go up there after dark. Don't follow voices, and don't, under any circumstances, answer if you hear singing. I thought it was mountain superstition, until my sister went missing. Her name was Emily, and she was nothing like the stories people tell about lost girls. She wasn't some wild teenager or runaway. She wasn't reckless. She wasn't curious about ghosts or legends or dark trails. She was careful, smart, the kind of person who stood under a tree during storms because she read lightning myths. The kind of sister who kept a flashlight in her backpack, just in case. The kind of soul who hummed when she was nervous. Soft humming, like a quiet little song. God, I miss that sound. She disappeared in early September. Bright day, clear sky. She left the house at 4:12 p.m. I remember because she paused by the door and said, "Be home before dinner." She was going to meet her friend Hannah at the foot of Devil's Backbone. Not on the ridge, just at the trailhead, which was still considered safe. Except she never made it. By 7 p.m., Dad was driving around shouting her name out of the truck window. By 9 p.m., every neighbor with a flashlight was searching. By midnight, deputies were knocking on our door asking questions we didn't have answers to. The fear didn't come all at once. It rolled in like slow fog, thick, creeping, impossible to stop. But the thing that still haunts me is what happened on the second night. Search teams set up spotlights and tents at the base of the ridge. They combed the forest for signs, broken branches, footprints, scraps of clothing. Nothing turned up. Around 9 p.m., I was sitting on the back bumper of a deputy's SUV when I heard it. A voice, high, soft, almost like humming. At first I thought it was my brain messing with me. Grief, exhaustion, fear. But then it got louder. A tune, a melody, a woman's voice. And it came from the ridge, not from the trail, not from the search area, but from way, way deeper in the trees. Every hair on my neck stood up. "Did you hear that?" I asked one of the deputies. He shook his head. "Hear what?" But then he froze, because it came again, this time clearer. A slow, lilting tune. Something old. Something wrong. His radio crackled, then someone shouted from the tents, "Who's singin'?" Searchers turned their heads toward the ridge, flashlights sweeping the dark. But the ridge swallowed the light, and the singing drifted again. A soft, coaxing call. I felt something inside me twist. It sounded like Emily, but stretched, pulled thin, like her voice through water. Dad grabbed my arm. "Don't listen," he whispered fiercely. "Don't you answer it." That was the first time I saw fear in his eyes. Real fear, not of losing her, but of whatever was up there. That's when I realized this wasn't just a missing person case. This was something the mountain had taken. The search went on for days. No Emily, no clues, just that damn singing. Always at night, always from the ridge, always soft, like someone coaxing a child out of hiding. By the fifth night, deputies moved the tents farther from the tree line. One said, "It sounds like it's in my head." Another said, "I swear it said my name." They stopped searching after sunset. Nobody argued, but I couldn't sleep. Not with the image of Emily alone in the dark. Not with the sound of her humming stuck in my skull. Not with that faint voice drifting from the ridge every night. I tried to ignore it. Tried headphones, tried earplugs, tried burying my face in pillows. Didn't matter. The singing always found a way through. By the seventh night, something broke in me. Grief, mixed with guilt, mixed with hope, mixed with a stupid, desperate belief that if I just heard the voice clearly enough, I could trace it, find her, bring her home. So I waited until the house went quiet. At 2:14 a.m., I slipped out the back door and walked toward Devil's Backbone with nothing but a flashlight and Emily's hoodie. Her scent was fading, but I held it tight. The closer I got to the ridge, the colder the air grew, like crossing into a different season. Then the trees opened enough for the wind to carry it to me. The singing. Slow, low, like someone humming a lullaby. My knees nearly buckled. It sounded like Emily again, but not exactly. Like something wearing her voice. I followed it. The trail started easy. Packed dirt, dry leaves. Nothing unusual. But the deeper I went, the stranger it felt. The flashlight weakened. Like the darkness was thickening, pushing back. I kept shaking the light even though the batteries were brand new. The trees leaned in close. Branches like fingers, roots like ribs sticking out of the dirt. And the singing? It began drifting around me. First ahead, then behind, then to my left, then right beside me, like breath on my ear. I stopped. "Em," I whispered. Everything went still. The singing stopped. Then, here, a whisper. Soft, childlike, but not her voice. Something imitating her, testing it out, asking if it fooled me. I stepped backward instinctively. A branch snapped behind me. I spun, light shaking. Something moved at the edge of the trail. Just a shape. Low, crouched, pale in the beam of my weak flashlight. Then it rose. Slow. Too slow. And too tall to be human. My heart squeezed so tight I couldn't breathe. The shape swayed once, like it was listening. Then, it sang. Not the beautiful voice from before. This one was wrong. Gurgling, choking. Like someone trying to remember how vocal cords worked. My legs gave out. I hit the dirt. The thing stepped closer. Long limbs folding like a spider's, head tilted too far to the side. And then I saw its face. Or the attempt at one. The skin looked soft, like wet clay. Features pressed into it. A nose, lips, eyelids, but not finished. Like someone sculpting a human face who had never actually seen one. When it opened its mouth, teeth weren't there. Just darkness. Wet and deep. And then it tried Emily's voice again. Soft. Wrong. Stretched. Help me. My whole body trembled. It took another step toward me, legs bending at impossible angles like joints were guesses rather than anatomy. Its hand, long, thin, too many knuckles, reached out, toward my throat. I scrambled backward in the dirt, breathing hard. Then, someone shouted my name. Bright light burst through the trees. Dad. Two deputies behind him. The creature snapped its head toward the light. Its neck bent with a crack like wet wood breaking. It let out a low sound, a rumble so deep I felt it in my spine, and dropped to all fours, scrambling into the underbrush with impossible speed, vanishing like smoke sucked into a vent. Dad grabbed me, pulling me up so hard my shoulder popped. "What were you thinking?" he yelled. But his voice cracked on the last word. I didn't answer. I just sobbed, because as he dragged me away, back down the trail, back to safety, I heard it one last time, far behind us, soft, echoing through the trees. Help me. But now it wasn't calling me. It was mocking me. Emily was never found. Deputies searched for weeks. Dogs wouldn't go past a certain point. Drones malfunctioned. Radio signals went dead near the ridge. Locals started saying what they'd always whispered about Devil's Backbone. It sings to replace what it took. For months, I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw that unfinished face, that wet clay skin, that bending neck, those reaching hands, and sometimes, late at night, I swear I hear humming outside my window. Not loud, just soft enough to make my chest tighten. I don't look outside. I don't answer. Because deep down, I know. It remembers me. And it remembers my sister. And the mountain doesn't give back what it takes. It just teaches whatever's left behind how to sing. If this story made your stomach tighten, tell me where you're watching from. And if your town has a ridge, a trail, or a place people avoid, drop that too. Some of the best stories come from you. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. And thank you for sticking through all 3 Appalachian nightmares. If you ever want a new series, Skinwalkers, Missing 411, Trucker Horror, National Parks, Ocean Stories, anything, just say the word. Story 4. The Thing That Crawls the Hemlock Stairs. All right, let's go. I'm from East Tennessee, a place called Hemlock Valley. Tucked between 2 ridges people only know if they grew up there. Our town barely had 1,000 people, and half of them moved away before graduating high school. The rest stayed because they didn't know anything outside the mountains, or because they were scared to know. But there's one place we all avoided. Hemlock Stairs. Not real stairs, a steep slate formation up on the ridge that looked like steps carved into the mountain. No handrails, no signs, nothing. Just stone rising through the trees like a spine. Old folks said the stairs weren't naturally made, that they were carved long before humans lived here, and that sometimes, during certain seasons, something climbs those steps that ain't meant to walk upright. We all used to laugh. Stories, superstitions, until I saw it with my own eyes. I was 18, getting ready to leave for college, dreaming about life outside Hemlock Valley. My best friend, Ryan, wasn't going anywhere. He barely passed high school, didn't have much money, and spent most of his nights riding his four-wheeler up and down the ridge. But he had a good heart. When my mom died my junior year, he was the only person who showed up with a casserole and didn't make it awkward. We had different futures, but the same past. One night, early October, he asked if I wanted to go up the ridge one last time before I moved. Just to sit on the stairs and drink a few, he said. The view's better when it's cold. I didn't want to go, not because of the stories. I just didn't feel right. Like something was nudging the back of my mind, whispering no. But I could see the look in his eyes. He was scared of me leaving. Scared of being stuck here alone. So I said yes. I wish to God I hadn't. The trail up to Hemlock Stairs is narrow and steep. Roots like ropes, rocks like teeth, and the trees form a canopy that swallows the last of the daylight. We parked the four-wheeler a little ways down and walked the rest, boots crunching leaves. By the time we reached the stairs, night had settled. The stone slabs rose up in front of us, uneven, cracked, slick with moss. They weren't stairs made for human feet. Too tall, too deep, almost like steps meant for something with a longer stride. Ryan sat halfway up, cracked open a beer, and handed one to me. "Crazy you're leaving," he said. "Crazy this place doesn't," I replied. He laughed softly, but it didn't reach his eyes. We talked about old memories, fishing in the creek, skipping school, the trouble we got into. For a little while it felt normal, just two friends trying to hold on to a moment. But sometime around midnight, the woods changed. Not the sound, the feeling. You ever walk into a room where someone was just yelling, even though they're quiet now? That heavy energy hanging in the air? That's what it felt like. The trees went still. The wind stopped. Even the insects went silent. The silence wasn't peaceful. It was warning. Ryan noticed it too. "You feel that?" he whispered. I nodded, throat tight. Then we heard it. A scrape, high on the stairs, like stone against stone. We both froze. "Probably just a deer," Ryan said, but his voice shook. "Deer don't scrape stone. Not like that. Not in a slow, dragging rhythm." Scrape, pause, scrape, pause. Something was climbing, dragging itself up step by step. I whispered, "Ryan, let's go." He didn't argue. He didn't laugh it off. He just stood up slowly. We started backing down the stairs, careful not to slip. Another scrape. Closer. My heart slammed against my ribs. Then another. Then a deep, wet sound, like breath coming from a throat that hadn't used air in a long time. We didn't wait. We ran. Branches whipped at our faces as we stumbled down the slope. Loose rocks slid under our boots. Every second felt like something was right behind us. When we reached the bottom of the ridge, Ryan grabbed my arm. "Do you hear it?" he whispered. I listened. Far up the ridge. A slow, rhythmic knock echoed down the trees. Knock, knock, knock. Like knuckles tapping stone. My whole body went cold. Ryan's voice broke. "It's following." We sprinted to the four-wheeler, jumped on, and tore down the trail so fast the suspension screamed. The headlights bounced wildly, cutting through tree trunks and fog. When we hit the bottom of the valley, we didn't stop until we reached my driveway. We jumped off, breathing hard, shaking. The moon was bright enough that we could see each other clearly. And that's when I realized something was wrong with Ryan. His shirt was ripped down the back, a clean tear, like something had caught him, except he hadn't fallen. Nothing had grabbed him. At least, nothing we saw. "What happened to your shirt?" I asked, voice trembling. He looked down and his face went pale. I don't know." Before we could say another word, something echoed through the valley. Not a scrape, not a knock. Something worse. A howl. But not animal, not wolf, not coyote. High and low at the same time. Like two voices layered wrong. Like something trying to find the right pitch. Ryan backed up until he hit my porch. "That came from the ridge," he whispered. "No, I said, shaking. That came from closer. We didn't sleep, didn't move, just sat inside with the lights on until sunrise. In the morning, he left. I wish I could say things ended there. But they didn't. Ryan changed, not overnight, but fast. He stopped texting, stopped coming by. When I saw him at the gas station, he looked exhausted, dark circles under his eyes, twitchy, quiet. I said, "What's going on, man?" He said, "It keeps knocking." That was all. Then he walked out. Every night after that, something knocked on his window. Slow, rhythmic, just like the stone steps. Knock, knock, knock. His mom told my dad she heard him talking at night, not to himself, to something outside, saying things like, "I'm not coming back up there. Leave me alone. Stop copying my voice." My stomach twisted when she said that, because that's what it does. It imitates. It learns. It practices your voice like a song. And the more you listen, the better it learns. 2 weeks after the ridge, Ryan disappeared. His four-wheeler was found abandoned at the base of Hemlock Stairs, mud on the tires, keys still in the ignition. When search teams climbed the ridge, they found scratch marks on the stone, long ones, parallel, as if something had been dragged up the stairs, or something with long limbs was climbing down. They never found him. I left for college 3 days after that. Not because I wanted to. Because I was terrified. Terrified it would follow me next. I didn't sleep the whole first semester. Every night I heard knocking in my head, even though I knew it wasn't real. Or I hoped it wasn't. One night, early December, I woke up standing at my dorm window, hand on the glass, breath fogging the pane, just like the night after Ryan disappeared, and far below, in the campus shadows, I swear I saw something tall, thin, swaying side to side, trying to climb something, like looking for stairs that weren't there. I blinked, and it vanished. But the fear didn't. It never will. Because I know the truth now. Whatever climbs Hemlock Stairs doesn't stay on the ridge. It follows the ones who hear it, the ones who run, the ones whose voices it wants to learn. Sometimes late at night, when everything's silent, I hear it again, faint, echoing up from somewhere deep inside my mind. Knock, knock, knock. And I know, one day, it'll find the right steps to climb. If this story crawled under your skin even a little, tell me where you're watching from. And if your town has mountains, old steps, abandoned places, drop your stories too. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on the bell. Whenever you're ready for more Appalachian nightmares, just say the word. I'll keep going.